In this episode of MPTV, we are in Elk River, Minnesota. We're going to meet with Joe, the owner of this Sammy's Pizzeria. This is a brand that goes back 50 plus years. His grandma and grandpa started it, and we're going to dig into the pride it takes to carry on a tradition, the family name like they do here. We're also going to talk about his involvement in the community and how he brings up another topic that we had in another episode, ostrich ownership, how you as a restaurant owner must be involved inside the four walls. Let's go check it out. Hey, what's up? It's Matt, and we're back with another episode of MPTV. We're north of Minneapolis in Elk River. We're here with Joe of Sammy's Pizza.
Yep.
So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for coming.
The concept of MPTV is obviously Matt Plapp, but also making profit, talking about the restaurant business, that profit's elusive, especially 2020. You know, as you know, with this giant dining room, the X's on the table, we can't sit there. So I guess first introduce yourself. Tell us a little about you and the brand Sammy's.
Well, Sammy was my grandpa. I started this business in 1954 up in Hibbing, Minnesota. Just started with one small little location. Eventually it grew to, there's 15 right now. I think there was about 20 at one point. It started with the one restaurant. My grandpa got his kids involved, his brothers and sisters. He had a big family, a lot of brothers and sisters, so he got pretty much everybody involved. You know, when he started, it took a while to get going, but once it took off, it really took off. So everybody in his family wanted to be part of it. So that's kind of how it grew. And then my dad got into it, obviously, and I grew up in the business. I started washing dishes. You know, did everything. So throughout the course of the years, dishes, cooked, deliver, wait tables, literally everything. And then in 2004, me and my brother and sister decided to go off on our own, and we opened our own store in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. And then 3 years ago, we opened this one. So it's kind of been our whole family, been involved in it my whole life. And
so when people say they grew up in the restaurant business, you probably were back in the back room with dough and flour all over your face. Yeah,
and even like when I still worked at the original in Hibbing, my grandma was still there. So it's like every day my mom and dad were there, my grandma was there. Me and my brother and sister, we were all at college at various times, but one of us was always there. So it was total family affair every day. I'd see my grandma every day, my parents every day. It was crazy. So
now you're down here. Is there a lot of family involved in this location and the other one?
Yep. So my sister and her husband are in the Coon Rapids store. I have another cousin that works with me here in this store. All the other locations are cousins. My parents still work. They don't own a restaurant anymore, but they have a commissary kitchen, so they make spaghetti sauce, meatballs, lasagna, ravioli, gnocchi, some soups, all the little individual spice bags that we use to make our dough and our sauce. We all make the same dough and sauce and, pizza toppings. So those ingredient bags, it's, secret blend of spices, only my dad knows. So he still makes those bags, and so they're kind of still involved in it too. They don't own a restaurant, but they're still involved, and, they come down here quite a bit and tell me what I'm doing wrong and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a family deal.
So I know you said in your late 20s, when your dad sold the original location, you got out of the business for a year or two, came down here. What made you get back into it? What was it? Just in your blood?
Yep. I missed the business. Being a 9-to-5er was just totally crazy for it. It was weird. I'm used to working nights, weekends, all this other stuff, being my own boss. But the biggest thing was probably just missing eating good Italian food, and got sick of going to grocery stores to buy spaghetti sauce and that kind of stuff, so wanted to get my own stuff again. So that's kind of what started it. And
so now your product, talking about good Italian food, a lot of things you do are in-house.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about the sausage and some of the meats.
Yep, all the pizza ingredients. The dough, we make dough every day. We make our pizza sauce. Our pizza beef and our pizza pork, they come in fresh, raw, and we mix them with our seasonings, cook them, get them prepared to go throw on the pizzas. A lot of our pastas my parents still make, like I said. We try and do as much stuff as you can in-house. because if you can buy something from a supplier or from a grocery store, anybody else can do it. So that's what differentiates us. We make our own stuff, and I've always done it that way.
Has it ever been the temptation? Because like we talk about profit, that's more expensive. I'm guessing it's a lot easier. I always joke in the marketing world that it's easy to buy advertising. It's hard to do marketing because marketing should have a plan and a system. Well, with regards to food, it's probably easy to have the big food providers bring their semi in and drop off.
Yeah. Well, and with labor and all the issues with that, it's tough to find people to work. So it is a lot easier if you can get stuff prepared, before it even gets here, but that's just not really an option for us. And we want to keep an eye on the quality and make stuff that's unique that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes underestimate that consumers know it. Like I won't say the brand, but this is a company we worked with a while back, a big restaurant brand, handful of locations, and they switched to a mashed potato product that came from the food distributor. Yeah. And basically in a bag that was thrown in hot water and microwaved or whatever. Yeah. And I'll never forget because we handled their marketing and all their social media. And their food, they were known for a handful of staple items. And that was one of them that was really good. And, I remember when they made the change, like, we're going to say, we looked at the volume, we're going to have this many and like 17 cents, and they did the numbers, and it was going to bring this much to the bottom line. And they always had these meetings every month that always focused on the bottom line of the food cost. And I tell you what, within a week of it being out there, negative reviews on Facebook. Never go back. They're microwaving, they're nuking their mashed potatoes. And I was like, well, how do people know that? But people know it.
We in our owners group, like I said, there's 15 Sammy's restaurants, and it's all cousins. So we have an owners group. We get together 3 times a year, and we actually have a food committee within our group, and everything gets tested, and we don't add anything to our menu, or we don't change all of our pizza ingredients. We all use the exact same stuff. Nothing gets changed without going through the food committee. And like for us, pricing, we don't even really look at the price for certain things. It's quality. The quality has to be there. So everything that's on our menu, it's we use it because of the quality, not because of cost or anything like that. So works out well. That's
a common denominator in the conversations like this I have. This is about the 30th episode we've filmed, but I've also done probably 500 interviews like this across the country and at food shows. And the people that I see traditionally do better than others, aren't focused on the cost of the food as much as they are the quality, and then how do we figure out our pricing from there?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not sure I'm a normal consumer, but I can't tell you the last time I looked at a menu price on a menu. If I'm going to I love Walt Titching Post near my house. I don't even know what a steak, or I get a slab of ribs. My daughter gets a 16-ounce steak. I don't know what those cost. Yeah. Never looked.
Yeah. Well, and you get what you pay for. So I mean, you might have to charge a little bit more, but it's a better product, and people are willing to pay for it.
So talking about the family side of it, I know that's tough with some businesses when you have family. I grew up in a business. Me and my dad and brother for 10 years had a boat and RV dealership together. Yeah. And we had some interesting times, and it's tough sometimes because I think sometimes you're harder on family.
Yeah, for sure.
How has that dynamic worked with you?
That definitely, and even back when, like I said, we were in Hibbing, working with my parents and my grandma, my brother and sister every day. I mean, we'd get on each other's nerves. Kind of one of the reasons too where I'm at this store, my sister and brother-in-law are at the other store. My brother, who's no longer involved with the business, he was at the other store as well. So it kind of works good to separate us, and I have cousins in Duluth too. They have 3 or 4 stores, and there's 4 or 5 siblings. They all work at different ones too. So it kind of helps to keep an eye on things, but you got to get separation a little bit, and because you're harder on your family members and stuff like that. So it was tough to do. We made it work, but struggle.
I know you said you're more of the not the front of house, kind of running the back of house, and you've been obviously dealing with marketing, you deal with the finance. What about like community involvement? What are some things you guys have done that
we do a lot with the youth sports. Not to throw anybody else under the bus, but when we first came here, we hear it from the teams all the time how easy it is to work with us and how helpful we are to the teams. Part of it is because we don't have the corporate structure, and you don't have to deal with those hurdles. But we do a lot with all the youth teams. We do they do a lot of we do fundraisers with them. We do a lot of team meals, football games. I sell slices of pizza. We do that at swimming, gymnastics. So really heavily involved with the sports. That's kind of the big one. Youth hockey is really big around here. Our pull tabs, that's a fundraiser for youth hockey. This is a really big hockey town, lacrosse. So the youth associations are gigantic. So, you know, we just kind of whatever we can do to help them, you know. And it's worked out good. They're really loyal. The parents are loyal. They know that, you know, they can count on us, and, you know, it's a win-win.
What I've traditionally found is that, I mean, I'm a parent with 2 kids. My daughter's a college athlete now. My son's a high school athlete. But a lot of the families we travel with at sporting events, I mean, eating out's not uncommon. And you know, they're not typically broke, especially my daughter at one point was $1,000 a month a cheer.
Yeah.
You know, to get sponsorships for that should have been easy because we all could afford to spend some money on food.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an inclination a lot of times that, you know, I hear from restaurants a lot that the phone never stops ringing for donations or for this. And I took it a different route. We had our boat dealership. I don't know if you know this background, but me and my dad and brother owned a boat dealership. We actually sold Crestliner boats. I know that's a big brand up here. Yeah. But we had a boat dealership, and I'll never forget it because we're at this boat show, and I'm not a fisherman. Yeah. My dad wants to be a fisherman. Sorry, Dad, he doesn't want to be a fisherman. Does okay now. But I think the lake he lives on is stocked pretty well, so it makes him look better. But me and my brother, we're not really fishermen. Yeah. So we're at a boat show, and this guy walks up, and we were selling boats. And he walked up, and his comment was, "Hey, I want to see if you'll sponsor our fishing tournament." And I was like, "Okay, what does it entail?" And he's like, "Whatever." And I'm like, "So if we give you like $100 in gift cards?" And he's like, "You would do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's the problem?" He's like, "No dealership has ever sponsored us." Yeah. And so whatever, gave him 4 $25 gift cards. They come to a store, we had fishing tackle, we had oil for the boats, we had maintenance and service, sold boats as well. Yeah. And I remember looking at that, I went to my first fishing tournament. I'm like, what is a fishing tournament? And so I was my mid-20s. Went to a fishing tournament, I'm down there, and there's 100 people, 100 bass boats, and there's 200 fishermen, and there's a handful of spectators, and there's no presence by any business. Yeah. So I started talking to these fishermen, and I'm like, nobody's ever sponsored you guys? And they're like, no, they all just tell us to get the hell out of here. Like, it was not a big thing. So I realized that there was about 50 fishing clubs in our region, and I had my assistant reach out to every one of them and said, hey, we're going to sponsor any event you do. If you have under 40 boats, it's $50 in gift cards, at 25, 15, and 10. If you're over 40, you get $100. Yeah. And the first year we gave out 30 grand in gift cards. And my accountant, I remember she's like, dude, you've fallen off your rocker. And I'm like, well, look at the people. Yeah. It's the exact people we sell to they're congregated in one place. Yeah. We ended up tracking, the second year we did it, we did 35 grand. We ended up tracking it. It drove, we ended up being in front of 1,800 fishing tournaments that year. We ended up having 245 grand in sales just from when people came in to redeem the gift cards. Yeah. And then we ended up selling like 20 boats. Like the one guy came in and bought a boat, and he's like, hey, I'm here with my $25 gift card to get some oil, but I'm going to buy that boat too. But more than anything, what I heard from everybody, when I asked them, why do you guys drive 30 minutes out of your way to spend a $10 gift card? They say, because you're the only business that's ever supported us. Yeah. And I see that a lot in restaurants. Yeah, for sure. And it's like, the way I look at it is, I mean, you're helping the team, but you're building your future. I mean, it's not really, I don't really look for immediate results. Yeah. I'm building a relationship, and it grows because these groups are big. Parents, I mean, they have kids in multiple sports, so, you help the hockey team, and, that kid has a brother or sister that's on the basketball team, so now they heard about you. So, I mean, it just kind of builds, and it's, it's future building and building relationships. But yeah, I mean, people are loyal, and they know you're helping them, and they appreciate it. And I mentioned this in a couple episodes. There was a restaurant near us that recently went out of business, not because of the pandemic, but because of it actually closed before, and then the whole chain went out of business. But it was right next to, like, I live with a mile from our high school. They were about a mile the other way. Yeah. And I used to crack up because they were where I live at, there's only 3 restaurants between like our football field and subdivisions to like a lot of restaurants. Yeah. And so people typically go down to where there's 20 of them. Yeah. And so there's these 2 or 3 right in this little area. and I've never seen them at the games. I've never seen the cheerleaders throwing out footballs with their name on them. I've never seen their signage. And I'm like, this is an opportunity to talk to 400 or 500 people all the time. And they just ignored it. And the CEO, actually, he was in town one time and reached out to me because we have a common friend. And he's like, Matt, why do you think that store, it was the first store they closed. He's like, why do you think that store particularly does bad? I said, because nobody, you don't do anything. You guys aren't active in the community. I said, nobody. It's like a one-way street. We can drive by and eat there, but you guys don't promote anything else.
Well, yeah, and we get a lot of like the coaches. They have their meetings here, like end of the season meals and banquets. You know, we get a lot of that here and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, break time. Restaurateurs, it's Matt. And if you're watching MPTV, you're obviously interested in improving your business. What if I told you could finally take the hope and pray out of your marketing plan and spend money and see results? You see, most marketing starts with the same exact tactic. You gain the attention of somebody, but that's where the majority of it stops. What we do with the ROI engine is help you gain amazing attention, which drives gigantic engagement. That engagement leads to customers to tell us who they are, meaning they opt into your email, text, and birthday program, and then we drive them to buy something. We've got a lot of great programs that can help you, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. If you're interested, it's easy. Check out ROIexperts.net. You can schedule an appointment, and we'll hop on a call with you. Worst case scenario, you learn how to market your restaurant like you've never heard of before. Back to the action. Work together. What are some things you've done in the years that you think have helped you, stay in front of the customers better than others?
We used to do a lot of direct mail. But I think since I started working with you, I don't think I've done any direct mail. It was right around that time when I quit doing that, but I was just looking for something else to do and, different areas. A lot of social marketing, emails, a lot of stuff with the schools. Drawing a blank.
Radio, TV, is it?
No, we used to do some TV. TV's kind of tough because now there's so many different providers. Like, there's Hulu and everything else, and if you advertise on a certain, our cable company here is Charter Cable. 20 minutes away it's Comcast Cable. So if you advertise with Charter, you're only on Charter. You're not on DirecTV. You're not on Dish. You're not on all these other providers. Just doesn't really work that well for us. Radio, we never did much radio, just because you're paying for such a wide spread. Is that the word? Spread. I'm advertising to customers that are 3 hours away. So,
and that's something I think a lot of businesses in general, but especially restaurants, fall into is it's sexy to be on the radio.
Yeah, for sure. And TV was like that too. I'm on TV.
You like hearing your commercial. You like seeing your logo on TV. Sponsorships of pro sports teams. I had a client that used to spend 60 to 80 grand every year sponsoring the Cincinnati Reds, and we had no clue if anybody actually walked in. And I remember this was probably about 10, 15 years ago. I came up with my own little concept I call create your own radio station. Is that a lot of small businesses have the ability to create a larger audience for you than that radio station has. And my example is I live in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. I live in Northern Kentucky. And I used to use this example with a guy named Steve Kane's All Vacuum Center. He was a small one-location vacuum store in Northern Kentucky. If he were to buy radio, he'd be reaching people 45 minutes north in Fairfield. Nobody in their right mind is driving down. And people have this love affair with media because, like radio, they'll say, hey, and I sold radio. That was my first job out of college. You're going to reach 250,000 people a week. But when you narrow it down and go, okay, well, every 15 minutes your station reaches 10,000 people. And of those 10,000, only 500 are within 5 minutes of here because nobody's going somewhere, coming from 20, 30 minutes away most times. And when you narrow it down, like I remember this client that I was dealing with who was buying advertising on radio and he had one location. And I showed him that. I said, think about it. You got this whole circle. If you narrow it down to the people that are near you, that are actually paying attention, that actually are in the market for what you sell, your commercial probably reaches 10 people. But if you spend that same time and effort on building an email list, building a text list, building a direct mail list, building a birthday club, now you've got an audience you own.
And that's kind of what I kind of view your program as building my customer base and building the customer base, but also getting people to come in more often. And then, once I get that database built up, I try and focus on getting those people to come in more often or spend more money, But as far as getting new people in, kind of your program is kind of the main thing I do for that. as long as getting involved with the community, but,
Yeah.
you know.
So last question, I guess second to last question. Heritage brand, family name, what's it like? Is there a pressure there? I mean, I can see your
Oh, yeah.
grandfather up there, and you
Yeah.
see that a lot of times. They always say businesses don't last this many generations, or
Yeah, we're third generation.
that things fall off. Like, what is that like having a brand that it's a little closer? Like, it's not a
Yeah.
franchise you bought; it's the
Yeah.
family.
Well, it's really important to us, and we take a lot of things personal. I mean, it's my grandpa's name, you know. You get people leave you a bad review on Yelp, or, you know, which I love our food, but it happens. I mean,
yeah,
not
yeah.
everybody's happy. So I mean, we get a bad Facebook review, bad Yelp, and when people are doing that, they don't realize, you know, if somebody says, "Oh, the food's terrible," or whatever. I mean, it happens. You know, that's my family's food. You know, so it'd be like if I came to your house and you made something and I said, "This sucks," you know, you take it personal.
Yeah.
So, and it's my family's. So, you know, we have a reputation. I want to make my family proud. You know, my grandma, you know, she's still alive. I want to make her proud, and I want her to be happy, and, you know, look at us and see what we've done and be proud, and know that, you know, we still try and do things the exact same way she did it, and my grandpa. You know, that's the big thing, is make them proud. And, you know, all we're doing is doing what they started. I mean, we're just carrying on. You know, they started it, and we're just, you know, keeping it going, and, you know, doing the best we can to make them happy. So,
Well, based on what I see online, we're going to find out today. I can't wait to try everything.
Yeah.
But based on what I see online, you guys are making them really proud.
yeah.
Restaurant owners, did you know Matt has free online marketing courses that teach you how to successfully market your restaurant? Email support@mattplapp.com to get access to the courses and a free social media content calendar.
So I was in the interview with one question, kind of like a hot seat question. If you're talking to other operators and owners about something that they should be doing inside their business to be successful in the restaurant business, what would be one piece of advice that you think has really stuck with you, maybe from your grandma and grandpa, that have gotten you through this many years?
I think staying involved and taking pride in what you do. You know, restaurants, they don't really work that well when the owner is just non-existent, or, you know, just leave everything to everybody else. You know, I'm here every day. I know what's going on, and, you know, I take pride in it, so I want everything to be done right, and I want every single person that leaves to be happy. So
Take pride and take ownership.
yeah, take ownership.
I
Yeah.
think it was Ray Wiley, the
Yeah.
CEO of a couple brands, mentioned in our interview, he called them ostrich owners.
Yeah.
It's like there'll be people that want to get in the restaurant business, but they want to hide.
Yeah,
They want to
well,
be
'cause
around.
it seems like it's a glamorous, fun thing, you know, and, you know, but there's a lot of work, and the failure rate for restaurants is huge. So it's like, it's not an easy business. You have to love it, and you have to want to do it, you know. So
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time.
yeah, thanks for coming in.
Well, that wraps up another episode of MPTV. If you're ever up in this neck of the woods, make sure you hit up Sammy's, Elk River, Coon Rapids, all over the state of Minnesota. And remember, you can't be an ostrich, you can't hide. If you're going to be a restaurant owner and succeed, like my man here says, you know, be involved, be out and about, make sure you have your hands on it and take pride in what you do. Because on the wall somewhere, there's a grandma and grandpa that are relying on it. So we'll see you next episode.